Hey, it's Webs here again with another Hearthstone deck video, and I've seen the future where we win with this secret Questline Mage. The idea behind this deck was I wanted to use Questline in a unique way, and I hadn't really used the secret package as much, so this is the solution I came up with in the end. There are definitely enough secret support cards in the current meta standard in order to as a functional deck by itself. However, it doesn't really have that big of a win condition, and it's more of a control package right now, which is great because in combination with the questline, you can actually add a win condition to the deck, since this becomes more of a anti-fatigue mage deck. Mulligans, you usually want to keep early game removal so you can trigger your questline as quickly as humanly possible. Another card that's really good to keep in your open hand is Arcanologist, which allows you to draw into any of your secrets in the deck, which also serve as a fuel for your questline for the next turn. A card that I really wouldn't recommend keeping in your hand is Apex's Smuggler, as it's one of those cheap cost cards that looks great on paper to keep in your open hand. However, you have to realize that most of the time you're only going to be able to use this on turn 5 or later, because it's going to be instantly killed by your opponent if you don't. Now, with that being said, let's get into the games. Alright, time for game 1 against Mage. Hopefully this is a mirror match where we actually have the advantage over them. This opening hand looks really bad. I'm probably just going to mulligan the Oasis Alley away, especially because in this matchup it's probably dead. However, we do have one of each spell school, which is going to be great for our questline. Drawing into Encounters Flow, which is actually really good. Drawing into our second Encounters Flow, which is even better. They're going to use their Encounters Flow, which is fine. The issue, though, we're going to have is our first flame is kind of dead as a trigger for the questline, because they're not going to be playing any minions anytime soon, I don't think. But at the same time, they're hero power questline. Interesting. Grabbing the Smuggler. Going to play the Ice Barrier, which is not going to really do anything but trigger our questline. So they're going to generate a minion here, which is fine, and actually what we would have preferred them to do, just so we can trigger a few steps of our quest. However, we kind of have to be making the correct decision of which parts of each individual quest step that we want to complete, because we're going to only be able to trigger 2 out of the 3 possible combinations. Choosing to trigger the fire for our questline is probably the best bet, just for the fact that we have only knights in the deck that could trigger the questline or the fireballs in our deck. And I would prefer to keep both of those in our hand before our questline gets complete. Though I guess with the knight, it doesn't really matter that much. They're going to play a secret. It's probably going to be Ice Barrier, I'm assuming. Going to play the Smuggler, and then test the coin to see what it is. Them getting a portal out of it, which is fine. Actually allows us to complete even more of our quest. Grabbing the missiles is probably the correct decision here, just so we can trigger both the Arcane and Frost steps by killing just one minion. I could actually trigger the fire one this turn too, because of first flame, but I'm going to not do that. It turning into a satyr is kind of shitty. It's honestly the worst thing it could have turned into. Anything with dormant, I think is the keyword. Though, funnily enough, they're not actually going to be able to trigger it on any minion in their opening hand. Especially because I'm doubting they were actually playing any such cards. Them playing First Flame kind of sucks for us. We're probably going to lose the Smuggler here. Yeah. But oh well. They're going to complete their quest line and then be able to play it instantly. But we should be able to do the exact same thing next turn anyways, so no big deal. Drawing into a First Flame. So we need to trigger Frost and Fire, but we only have a way to do one of those things. That's actually why I included the Brain Freezes after a while, because if you have both of your secrets that are Frost, you don't have any way to trigger the Frost step of the quest, which replaced Inconspicuous Riders, which I had early in the game. But it turned out it didn't actually function the way that I thought it would, so I removed them from the deck. So their Fire Hero Power questline, I think they're combining too many decks into one deck. This is coming from the guy who loves doing that same thing. So we can just trigger our questline here. And play our minion right away. And then destroy their minion and draw 4 cards. Drawing into a Ruined Orb, which is great. Drawing into Sayge is also great. I don't know how useful it's going to be this game, since we haven't actually triggered any of our secrets. But oh well. I don't know what the hell they're doing with this deck. It's cool, but it's so weird. It's so... I don't know. Drawing into another Smuggler. I'm just going to kill that before it gets way too big. That's a card that I actually kind of want to make some type of deck around, but I don't think Questline, Hero Power, whatever the hell this combination is the right deck to do it in. So they were going to try to draw a bunch of cards. Yeah, just such a odd mixture of cards. So they are running a Flame Strike, which is weird. We're just going to draw a secret out of our deck, which is a counter spell, which is going to be funny. So we can draw 2 cards, or we can continue to be greedy with our Sage. So they're finally playing their quest reward. And they're going to trigger our second counter spell. So now we should stop being greedy with our Sage, because we're going to draw 4 cards with it, which is great. And we definitely do need the burn damage. And there's our Ignite. And a Runic Ore for lethal. Alright, time for game 2 against Warrior. So drawing into the Encanter's Flow actually isn't that bad. So their Control Warrior, maybe? I don't know. Who's using Armor Smith nowadays? So 2 armor smiths. Kind of sad that armor smith doesn't get any play anymore, but at the same time, I just don't see how it would fit into any modern deck. I guess if you got greedy with the blade storms, it could. We're just gonna kill one of the armor smiths. Sucks that we can't actually kill it in one spell, but oh well. At least we get an early game ignite so we can snowball from there. Our hand does look kind of clogged though. But we should be able to complete the first step of our quest, I think, or second part. So they're just control warrior, I guess? I'm happy control seen play, but at the same time, I really wish it had some more interesting and newer cards to use. We're going to play a smuggler, and then play a Oasis ally just because it's great in this matchup. Going to save the brain freeze for the last part of our quest. Probably should have actually played the Oasis ally that cost 3 instead of 2. Just so we could have actually not saved a mana there. But oh well, I didn't know what I was going to be generating off of the smuggler, so. They're going to attack foolishly into our smuggler. We're actually in a great position just because we can consistently freeze their hero now. Since I don't think they have anything except for a Coerce that could actually kill our water elemental. Going to play the counter spell so we can trigger that part of the quest, along with the fact that we can just kill their armor smith real quick and then draw into another secret. Blade Master kind of sucks here for us, but oh well. Maybe it's Rush Warrior instead. No, it has to be controlled. So we can use the Fireball to trigger a questline. Just hopefully he doesn't have a Mutanus in his hand. I guess it's not the complete of the questline yet, but I'm going to grab the Hot Streak just because of the fact that we can play it and then automatically trigger that part of our quest. And I could have triggered the entire questline right there. However, Mutanus is always on the back of my mind when it comes to games like this. Warriors and Priests are always the classes that I'm paranoid about that happening. And Warlock a little bit, but not as much as I used to be. Gonna Rune Orb here. Doesn't really matter what we grab, but the Shooting Star really helps. Especially after we play our quest reward. It'll be a complete board clear. And now we get to draw 4 cards, which is kind of broken. And we get another card to draw 4 cards. And we even get a Conjurer in order to control the board even further. Who needs to be Control Warrior when you can just control the board with Questline Mage, right? Coerce kind of sucks, but we have the counter spell. Probably shouldn't have actually played the Conjurer there. Could have probably just played the draw 4 and then been good, but oh well. Trying into an Ignite. I feel bad when I'm facing a warrior with a deck like this. It's just sad to see where once really good deck has fallen. Though I do understand from a player perspective why having a control deck like that in the metagame is actually bad for the game overall, since games last for like 20 minutes. And there's not a lot of people who would like to play a 20-minute game. Honestly, doesn't matter what we do here, we just win. Alright, now that we're through the games, let's discuss how well the deck did and why I built the deck the way I did. So the deck actually performed relatively well, as expected from Questline Mage right now. The deck actually served its purposes pretty damn well when it came to mirror matches. It counteracted a lot of the blowout that a mirror match should have. Sure, you're giving your opponent some minions to use spells on, which sucks, but it's usually worth the risk of doing so, because you can also counteract with things like Counterspell or any other card that generates more cards. There were quite a few games where Apex's Smuggler was quite handy, as it let you generate cards to trigger your questline when you had no other easy access to doing so. Secrets themselves were actually pretty great, as they allowed you to either survive longer in a minion-based matchup or in a mirror match. Things like Counterspell would also allow you to stall out your opponent for an extra turn, maybe even snipe away one of their ignites, so you didn't have to deal with that later in the game, thus allowing you to win in the long term. I would definitely say overall, if you were looking for a more control style mage deck, and you still wanted to use the questline in some unique fashion, this actually performs well enough for me to actually recommend the deck. There's not actually that many cards in the deck that feel kind of awkward to use. The only one that I would say is probably Oasis Ally. However, you include it in the deck just because it's a frost spell and the fact that it's another secret for your other secret synergy to synergize off of. There's not really a better secret option to do so. I know I tried out a few other card deck because I had hoped it would also trigger the questline, but they didn't. Ring Toss doesn't actually trigger the questline when you use it. It's kind of sad, but it is what it is, so that's why it's not included in the deck. I also tried out the Inconspicuous Riders. They definitely do not. I found that out like game 2, which was kind of sad, but I was also excited because I found out 2 games in instead of, I don't know, 20 games in, and maybe I would have still had the card in the deck with the video. So if you liked the video, please leave a like, subscribe, and a comment down below, and until next time, bye bye.